Part 2, let's do it. So for this part, the goal is going to be to spawn characters on this map here for each of the agents in the battle, and we're just going to model this game after a JRPG. You'll see when I press play here, I've got some characters spawning. They're just using a single static sprite just now, which I got for free from the Unity Asset Store, and I'll leave a link to that in the video description. But right now, this stands for, on the left, this is the players, characters, and on the right, it will just be enemies. And you'll see here, I've set up this environment object in the hierarchy. So we've got a parent object here called ground. We've got its sprite, which is this wee background here. We've got a battle position parent, which is just an empty game object, which I'm using to contain all of these positions. If we show you here, we can show these are all the positions that can be used to spawn characters on. You see when I press play that we spawn the game object for the characters, and they're just slotted as a child object of the battle positions. We've got a new data model, which is the class battle position, which we attach to the battle positions object, which are just static in the scene. You're going to make them before the game compiles. Let's open it up. Dead simple. We've got two boolean values: is player, which is just going to determine if a player character can spawn on this or if it's reserved for enemies, and is taken. We also set up this nice 2.5D style, if you want to call it that, and it was a bit of a pain in the ass, but I can show you what I did here. So the main thing is I set the camera projection to perspective. By default this will be orthographic if you're using a 2D project template. I set the rotation of the camera to 25, so you can copy that if you want, and then I've also set the ground sprite rotation on X to be 90. And then finally I've just set the text from part 1 just to anchor to the top of the scene, which you can do by coming to the container image object, which is the parent of the text, click this anchor set and hold Alt Shift and just press the top, and it'll anchor straight to the top. The script's in, so we've got a couple of changes to the battle controller. We've got this sprite, which is just called test sprite because it's just a static sprite that's going to represent all the characters. Just here for our battle positions, which, like I said earlier, represent places that characters can spawn on. New method here, spawn characters, which we call in start of the battle controller, and here it is here. You feel free to copy it down. I'll just walk you through what each part of this actually does. So first of all, we're checking if the battle positions list attached to the controller has got anything in it. I hate drag and drop in Unity, so what I've done here is game object defined that parent, which all of our battle positions are set to children of. Get components in children, which is the battle position. We're then just going to look through all the agents in the battle agents queue. We're setting a new battle position here, which we'll assign later on in this method. We're creating a new game object. We're adding a sprite renderer to it. We're checking if it's a player character. If it is, we'll want to set it onto the left of the map. First is a link query, so we can just basically say get the first battle position where the player value is true and it's not taken. For my sprite, I'm going to want to flip the sprite on the x-axis if it is a player, just so it's facing the right hand side, but if you're using a different sprite set, it might be the opposite. If it's not a player, then it's an enemy. So nice and simple. We're just doing the same again as we did up here. Get the first battle position. We're checking that is player is false, but again we want to make sure that is taken is also false. I'm setting the parent to the battle position, which we have assigned here, and then resetting the local position of the agent object, which will just make sure that it slots perfectly sit right on top of where you've declared you want it to spawn. And then we just assign the renderer sprite to this test sprite, which I will use drag and drop on. Finally, we just set the battle position as taken to true to make sure that it doesn't get used again. And if we scroll up a wee bit, you'll see a new value getting passed in to the agent. I'll just go ahead and show you that. New value here is player, so that's just going to allow us to track, is the agent player or is it an enemy? And this syntax here basically says that we don't need to pass in a value into the constructor here because it's nullable. And if no value is passed in, then just assign as player to false. Back to the scene, and we'll go to the manager's object where you've got your battle controller script assigned. You can see this test sprite value, so just set that to whatever you want. It can be any sprite you want. This is just going to represent the character that we're spawning for now. And yep, that's it. So if we press play, there we go, there's the character spawning, and you can see the objects inside. There we go, nice and simple again. It will get more interesting. The next video we're going to do will show you how we can set up abilities and assign them to different character types. We'll be able to target and actually really replicate taking turns in a game like this, as you would do instead of just having to press the spacebar, which would be pretty boring. And after that we can look at adding the rhythm controls, which will be the fun part. I hope it helped, and cheers for watching. Any issues you can reach out and I'll do my best to help. Bye bye.